Hey everyone, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jennifer Hernandez. I am a registered dietitian and a dietetics educator. I started in my role as a dietetics educator in 2014 as the program director for a freestanding dietetic internship. I left that role 4 years later in 2018, where I moved to a future education model graduate program and became the program director. Wow, it's all fuzzy. I think I became the program director a year ago. Yeah. So I was kind of the right-hand person to our program director for my first 2 years there. And I've been the program director officially for a year. What a year it's been. It's so fuzzy, I can't even keep track. So I have been a dietitian for a really long time. And last year, I had a few friends and former students of mine have their cycles end, their certification cycles. So if you're not familiar with this, as a dietitian or a dietetic technician, your registration period is 5 years long. And every 5 years, every year you have to pay a fee. You can pay it in either 1 or 5 year increments. And every 5 years, you have to submit your professional development of 75 continuing education hours if you are a dietitian, and I believe it's 50 if you're a diet tech. So every 5 years, you have to develop a plan, a 5-year plan for continuing education, and before the end of that 5-year period, you have to submit the things that you did to show that you got your continuing education units in. So last year, some people were asking me how to do it because they had to do their second cycle and they couldn't remember how to do it. And actually things changed. And guess what? They changed again this year. They changed 5 years ago and they changed this year. And so I'm super lucky that I am the group that always gets to go first with the new professional development plan. So I sat down and was going to make a video on how to make your plan. And as I was looking through it today, I realized there is a lot of information. And so I have mentally broken it down into 3 different videos. So this is going to be part 1, where we are just going to talk about the actual continuing education and about the professional development portfolio. Later, I will actually let you watch me create my own. So that'll be interesting because I haven't gone into the new system yet. And then the 3rd video will be me submitting an activity to the log so that you can see the whole thing. You won't be able to see me actually submit, but I'll probably submit this December, even though my 5-year plan starts a month ago. So yeah, it's not that difficult, but they change it all the time and it just seems more difficult than it is. So let's look at the actual professional development portfolio guide. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm on the CDR, or Commission for Dietetic Registration website. I found this specific page really easily earlier, and then it actually took me several steps when I, of course, came to record. Now, as a dietitian or a member of the Academy, you can log into CDR right here using this login button, and it'll probably be quicker than how I found it. But you can go to the CDR page and click on Professional Development Portfolio, and eventually with enough clicks, you're going to get there. Now I'm going to look at the cycles ending in 2026 and 2027. So my 5-year cycle will end in 2026 because it's starting now. Now, if you are a new grad dietitian, right? So you just finished your internship, your coordinator program, your future education model program, and you just got your registration eligibility. You are going to be registered from whatever point in time you pass the RD exam until 2027. So you get somewhere in between 5.5 and 6 years in your first cycle. And then it'll be every 5 years after that. That's why it currently says 2026 and 2027. All right, so I'm just going to open this PDP guide up, Professional Development Portfolio Guide. You can totally read this. I'm not going to read it to you word for word, but it gives you the steps. You're going to create your learning plan. once you have your learning plan, you're going to make an activity log, which will be the third video, right? So I will walk you through creating the learning plan in the next video. And then the third video, I will show you how to log activities. And then prior to the end of your 5-year cycle, you are going to submit your activity log, and you're going to evaluate. And you can see here it tells you the evaluation piece is not something that CDR asks for. Okay, so there's just information in here that you can read as we scroll through this guide. Now, this is something I thought was kind of amusing, the 13-point content criteria checklist, which tells you this is kind of a cumbersome process, right? If we need 13 points, but it gives you some criteria to think about whether or not an activity counts in your activity log. And here's the thing, it says the activities have to be dietetics related. Now, remember, everybody, that dietitians do everything, right? We do clinical, we do food service, we do community, we do counseling. There are so many things that we do as dietitians that pretty much everything is dietetics related. Now, if I were to take like a painting class, I might have to work really hard to stretch that one into being dietetics related. But lots of things are dietetics related. Now, we'll talk about academic coursework in a little bit, but academic coursework, again, if it's dietetics related, counts. You cannot count the coursework that you took to get your credential, which means if you had to get a master's degree to get your credential, right? You had to get that master's degree to get your verification statement to sit for the exam. That degree doesn't count. If you get a second master's degree, if you do coursework, and it doesn't have to, you do not have to finish a degree, it can just be coursework, right? As long as you can say it's dietetics related, then it will count, okay? Several years ago, so more than 5 years ago, they added an ethics requirement. So it's somewhere in the 5 to 10 years ago range, this ethics requirement was added. I had to have ethics on my last plan, but I didn't have to have it on the one before. So just know it won't even let you submit your learning plan without an ethics activity, and it won't, you won't get approved if you do 75 hours without an ethics activity. So just know you have to come up with some sort of ethics activity. And actually that is the only piece of my next 75 CEUs that I haven't figured out. Everything else I know exactly how it's going to happen. All right, so there used to be a rule that you had to submit your log within 120 days of the first activity that you're going to count. There is no actual rule about when you have to submit your activity, or I mean, not your activity log, I'm sorry, your learning plan, right? So my cycle started on June 1st, which I actually didn't realize until today because our CDR dues are due next month. So it makes no sense how our 5-year plan starts on June 1st, but CDR fees are due in August. But, oh wait, look, no, I was wrong. You do have to have your plan submitted no later than 120 days after the completion date of the first activity. So just go in and do your activity or your learning log. Oh my gosh, these words, I can't keep them straight. Okay, but let's say that you did something in May, like I did. Nope, my class started in May but ended in June, so I'm still good. But if you did a continuing education activity in May and you had submitted your activity log by March 17th, then you can count that May activity in, or anything from March 17th to May 31st in the next cycle if you've already hit your 75 hours. For most people, that's not going to be a problem or a concern, but just know that you can actually do that if you get all of your hours in really early and then you do something late in your 5-year cycle. You can count it to the next cycle. Okay, all right, so here's the important part. Things that can count for continuing education. So like I said, academic coursework, dietetic related academic coursework has to be at a real college, right? You can take the course for credit or you can audit the course, okay? But you can get continuing education credit. Now, how do I know that I'm gonna have my 75 hours done minus my ethics? Because I am taking coursework. So I took a curriculum class this summer. I took it this past month. It might be a little bit of a stretch for me to say that this one was dietetics related, but maybe not since I'm a dietetics educator. I'm taking 2 classes in the fall. One of them is a career and vocational counseling course. So I'm hoping this is going to be an amazing course that's going to help me help students and other practitioners, right, to really enjoy their careers. So clearly I can call that one dietetics related. My other class that I'm taking is motivational interviewing. How is that not dietetics related, right? So if you look at this, 1 semester credit hour gives you 15 CEUs. That means for a 3 credit hour class, you're going to get 45 continuing education hours. So even if I don't count my curriculum class, I'll have 90 CEUs just next semester. Boom, done, except I have to come up with that 1 credit of ethics. This one is new. I don't know when they added it, but sometime in the last 5 years. Massive open online courses. How cool is this? The thing that you need to know is you have to have some sort of official verification of participation. So I didn't talk about this on academic coursework, but it tells you the maximum number of CEUs, right? So I can count those 90 hours. What you have to put in your activity log. So we'll look at this in video number 3. And then what documentation you need to retain. And this is just in case you get audited. So, I mean, make sure you have that information in case you do get audited. Keep it somewhere safe. I used to like literally, well, so I'm old. They sent us in the mail a binder and it had folders and we could keep it in there. For my last cycle, I just put everything on a network drive at work. And then I think I saved it onto a flash drive, a USB drive. Okay, so for the massive open online courses, you do need official verification of participation, but you can get 1 CEU per contact hour. So for every hour of video that you watch in a massive online, open online course, you can get 1 CEU. Case study presentations, these are live, right? So grand rounds at your hospital, any kind of patient case studies. You just need to keep an agenda, right? And provider contact information. Certificate programs. So there are a variety of different certificate programs. I did the certificate of training in adult weight management several years ago. Again, no maximum. You need to keep that certificate of completion and who did it, who provided it. Exhibits, if you go to like FNCE or a state conference. Now notice that there's maximums for these. You can't do all 75 hours as looking at poster presentations. Experiential skill development, and this is, there's some caveats on it, but maybe you do, the academy, it has this, nutrition focused physical exam, right? That would be experiential skill development. Even a cooking class would be experiential skill development. Interactive workshops, journal clubs. This is a great one, right? If you work with dietitians or you make some friends, there is no maximum on journal clubs. So you can get a group of friends, get a group of coworkers, and start a journal club, right? Keep up to date with the research out there, and you can count that as a CEU. Now, here's what I love: live lectures, seminars, webinars, teleseminars. If they are live, these do not need pre-approval. So if the content fits your learning plan, video number 2, then you can count it even if it's not a pre-approved by CDR program. Okay, so I do monthly webinars. I'm taking this month off, but I do monthly webinars, typically on mindset training. And if that's something that fits your learning plan, if you are live with me, you can count that. Now, if you watch the recording, you can't, because I don't submit them for prior approval, mainly because my webinars are all free and it costs money to get prior approval. So I don't jump through the hoops to become approved. And CDR is no longer just kind of doing blanket approval, so I can't just submit myself as a provider and then everything is considered approved. But if it does have pre-approval, then you can count the recorded ones. Poster sessions. Here is another big one: professional leadership and precepting. Now, again, there is a maximum. You can't do all 75 hours in this, but if you hold an office in your state or a local dietetics association, you can count CEUs. If you precept students, interns, you can get 3 CEUs a year. I know that's not a lot, but at least it gets you a 1/5 of your continuing education, and that helps. Okay. Professional reading, you can get a 1/2 of a CEU for each research article that you read. You just have to read it. You just have to have the citation and the date that you read it, and that is it. Okay. If you conduct research, right, you do a research study that is not part of academic coursework and it's not just professional reading, then you can also count CEUs for that. There's residencies and fellowships. If you have a study group, again, this wouldn't be like a study group for the RD exam because you would have to do it after you become a dietitian, but maybe you're studying for one of the certifications, right? Study groups count. So speaking of certifications, there are a ton of them. And again, things change. So a lot of things counted as your entire 75 continuing education units previously, and now they don't. But this will tell you exactly what counts for how much. So let's say you want to become a certified nutrition support clinician. Well, that's going to be your entire 75 hours. Remember, you still need that 1 hour of ethics separately, but becoming, passing that test to become a CNSC will give you 75 hours. Same thing for all of the board certifications from CDR and the Certified Diabetes Care and Education Specialist, which is, it used to be the CDE, right? CDCES. If you take the exam, so that initial certification, it's 75 continuing education hours. Now, I point out that initial exam, and we see the same thing here for certified eating disorder registered dietitian. Initial exam is 75, recertification is 50. And the same thing here for the certified diabetes care and education specialist. If you recertify with continuing education versus the exam, it's 50. There's some other things like certified health coach, personal trainers that are down to 25. But if that is part of your, long-term plan or your 5-year plan, that at least gets you a chunk of, it gets you a third of your continuing education hours. There's all kinds of pre-approved study materials that you can do. They're going to advertise that they have that CDR approval. You can also do study materials that are by other organizations. So there's a whole list of organizations here that CDR recognizes their certification or their approval process. So it doesn't have to be specifically CDR approved. if it falls under one of these as well. Okay, so there's more information in the PDP guide, but that's the gist of what counts and what doesn't count when we're looking at continuing education, right? So if you go to any kind of live seminar or webinar, it doesn't have to have CDR approval, right? It doesn't have to have pre-approval if you are live. So, and I think that's a really important distinction for a lot of people to realize, is there are so many things that you can count towards your continuing education. All right, so that's just the overview of getting those continuing education units every 5 years. A little bit later, I'm gonna create my own 5-year learning log and let you follow along with me if you need to learn how to do that learning log. And then again, video 3 is gonna be how to submit that activity. All right, so thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please throw them in the comments and I will be happy to answer them. Have a great day.